Can you operate as a judge if I decline to contract with you by giving you my name? That's a classic. There's maxims in law, thousands of them. And it's kind of fun to find ones that speak to you. But one I like, he who does deny admits. Wow. What's that mean? Are you Edward? It ain't me. You just admitted it. I was in prison with a guy. He says, how can they hold me? I'm not even here under the right name. He says, I'm not this name they got me under. I said, where'd they get that? He said, I gave it to him. I said, well, you're whoever you say you are. They don't care. You say you're John Smith, they'll be happy to take that. They just need a name. You're the one that can identify yourself. Nobody else can. Classic example. He figured he had some way to get out because they thought that he wasn't Emilio Estevez instead of Jose Eduardo, Spanish guy. I said, sorry, pal. No good. You gave him a name. That's who you said you were. They'll take that. They don't care. I got off a bus once up and getting dropped off in another prison. The lieutenant standing outside, he said, the name. I said, what do you want my name for? He said, just give me your name. I said, well, I got many names. I didn't know really what to say at time practicing some more. He said, well, just give me one of them. I didn't give many of them. And then he asked for a number and this and that. It really got kind of interesting, but nonetheless, didn't matter to him either in hindsight. Just give me one.
What if you said Daddy?
He'd have wrote it down and I'd have been in prison as Daddy.
Right?
Yes.
Oh, anything.
Anything. He don't care. It's all about jurisdiction, isn't it? It's all about answering questions. What's your name? Daddy is my name, isn't it? My kids call me Daddy. Some of them call me Daddy. So that is my name, isn't it? You're whoever you say you are. Gal. Neat deal. John Stewart, murder guy. We had a recent hearing not too long ago. Were you in there on that one?
Which one?
When he said, you're the defendant? We went in on a court hearing not too long. Yeah, you weren't on that one. We went into a court hearing. This public defender, this is great. I got to tell you a couple of stories on him because this is good for you. We terminate this, when I first take over the case, we terminate the attorney on a Wednesday morning. We file all the documents, forgive me letter, termination of attorney, notice, etc. 8 o'clock that night, John gets a call from the public defender. Jeff Johnson or John Johnson. We'll just call him John Johnson for whatever here for this discussion. And John says, I got great news, Mr. Stewart. I got a hold of the toxology report, and the guy was under the influence of drugs, LSD, and John was all excited. Thank you. Because John, who likes facts, knew that in the state of Arizona that if a guy is deemed under the influence of drugs on this kind of a situation, then the case is dismissed, so he thinks. That's what his opinion was. And he knew that. Of course, the guy's toxology report being 1.9 alcohol content, 3 times the legal limit, John can't see that's drugs too, and well, he's just hope. So this public defender says he was under the influence of LSD, blah, blah. Oh, thank you, I appreciate it. Mr. Johnson, thank you. They had a little discussion. John gets off, tells the girl and kids, man, and everybody's happy. And 10 minutes later, the public defender calls back. I'm really sorry, Mr. Stewart. I read the toxology report wrong. He wasn't under influence of drugs at all. Accident? Coincidence? Call it 8 o'clock at night? Come on. He's doing his job. Of course, John did what the average guy will do. All upset. He says, do you know what this is going to do to the kids? Do you know how upset? Do you know what you've done? Da, 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 da. Of course, the guy, like a good employee, took the berating, right? That's what he's there for. John calls me and tells me, I said, oh, you got an attorney again. How do you figure that? I said, you accepted his report to you, and then he acted like a good employee and took the verbal berating. You got an attorney. And it's now, we got to do some paperwork. So we put together conditional acceptance. Upon condition that one, accept private compensation payment and court prove it in writing, kind of a thing. So he's back out of the picture again the next day. So Friday morning we show up to court, and the attorney, we go through these machinations, and that was one story. Now we go into a second hearing, and he doesn't have an attorney again still. We're still holding the mud with him, but the attorney tries every time. The public defender, this guy's great. He's really a classy dude. As a matter of fact, let me go back to the first story. In that first hearing, we're in there, there's some cases in front of us, so we're sitting in there, and pretty soon this public defender's coming in, dapper dressed guy looking for somebody, and he sees John, and he had a picture, and he waves John over, so John and I go out of the courtroom, and we go in the little hallway outside and start talking to this guy. I say, I'm Jeff Johnson, been appointed your attorney, blah, 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 blah. And John says, well, I conditionally accept, and blah, 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 and this guy just keeps coming back on him. Pretty soon John runs out of things to say. He doesn't know what to say anymore. So I step in and say, well, what he really means, Mr. Johnson, is can't possibly, trouble you, and I pick it up, and so I have a lot of fun with him, because I'm used to dealing with him. So long and short is, he ain't our attorney anymore. We all go into the courtroom, and of course, eventually, shortly thereafter, the case is called, and I've got the judge up on the podium, and prosecution standing there, and John standing over here, and I'm sitting back in the gallery, and pretty soon they're into it. And the judge is saying, do you want to represent yourself, do this or do that? And remember, we put in a request to abate the proceedings pending an administrative proceeding by me to settle the matter, by John. So I taught John, just stick with your story. Whatever the judge just about says, just say, is there not a request before the court to abate the proceedings pending an administrative proceeding by me to settle the matter? So pretty soon the judge is getting in and asking him questions, and John's just saying that. Judge is saying, look, you got to do that, and John saying, is there not a request before the court to abate the proceedings pending an administrative proceeding by me to settle the matter? Pretty soon the judge is saying, Mr. Stewart, there is no administrative proceeding before me to rule on. Now what are you going to say?
But he didn't say there's no request.
What are you going to say, Dan the man?
Repeat the same thing again.
That's right. And the judge says, Mr. Stewart, there is no administrative procedure before me to settle this matter. And John's catatonic by now. He's, all he knows is he's supposed to repeat what I told him to repeat. And, you can see the conflicting gears stripping in his head. Is there not a request? He's like, and pretty soon the public defender says, excuse me, Judge, I don't believe Mr. Stewart knows what he wants to do right now. And I'm now out there in the antechamber, we talked, and I said, we couldn't possibly trouble you, Mr. Johnson. You're a busy guy. He said, no, I'm not busy. I got just 3 cases. I'm not busy at all, too busy to handle this. I said, oh, come on, a guy of your talents, you got to be busy. And I'm sure there's many people more deserving than John. And he goes, no, he's he's honorably discharged out of the service. The government has put funds there for special guys like him. It's nothing. We have money for him. It's not a problem. I said, oh, come on. I know, got you busy. No, I only got 3 games. We're back and forth with this. It's just a game. I'm having fun. He's having fun.
Good.
And we're now in the courtroom, and he stands up and he says, Judge, I'm really busy right now. I don't have time to do this month or next month. Really? Kind of interesting. He's lying to me or he's lying to the judge, but it's all right. And Mrs. Charbel here, she's busy too, Judge. Too busy to do this right now. Judge says, well, I'm going to have to put this off then. For 90 days.
Just for the audience's sake?
Sure, we're not going to sit there and honor this guy's request to abate the proceedings and say that's what he got. these wonderful
Public
prosecutors and public officials, they came to his aid. And they will. Yes. Keith.
If the judge says, Mr. Stewart, and then he responds to that, is that not acknowledging that he is
Nah,
Mr.
you're
Stewart?
now in kind of a different deal. He said, I'm here as John Stewart, intervener. He says, Mr. Stewart. What does he mean? What do I mean? We're not there yet.
Yeah.
So it's okay
Yeah.
to respond to the judge. So John got out of that one pretty nice, and we got this emergency hearing that was going on. We went in the other day and called the case. Prosecution stands up and says, Mrs. Susie Charbel for the state prosecutor, blah, blah, blah. And the public defender, who we keep fending off, he goes, Public Defender Jeff Johnson, here for the defendant John Stewart, who's right over there in the gallery. John's standing up in the gallery. And I go, John, say it. I'm here as John Stewart, intervener, blah, blah, blah. Judge goes, you're the defendant. Now what's he going to say?
I'm here as John Stewart.
Yeah.
Intervener.
Yeah, just, I'm here as John Stewart, intervener, blah, blah, blah. You're the defendant. I'm here as John Stewart, blah, 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 blah. Then the judge goes on to something else. Nah, I don't need foreign on the record. You don't have to get all too... Be loose. He's out in the gallery. He's in the private side.
Okay.
He's just making an offer. Now, when we left, John's kind of rattled, shook up, didn't think he did good. I said, what are you talking about? You did great. Kind of, because he sort of screwed up some stuff when the judge was doing it. He didn't say, I'm here as John Stewart. He said, I'm here as John Stewart, intervener, blah, blah. And the judge says, you're the defendant. He goes, I'm here as John Stewart. If he'd have said one more time, I think he'd have fallen over. But John was a little pretty... Remember, to assert one's rights, to state positively with great confidence. I'm here as John Stewart. You don't got to be nasty. Very courteously, much humble, but with great confidence. I'm here as John Stewart, intervener, for the purpose of helping the parties settle all claims or charges outstanding.
You ever use body language?
No. Heavens no. You don't know what any of that stuff means. Don't put your hands behind your back. Don't be doing animated. Do you know what signals mean in court? I don't. So I'm not going to start using them.
Well,
What are you hiding behind your back?
Masonic signs.
Yeah, hold your hands still, and, if you need to, like I told John, just hold something in your hands like this so you don't have to worry about where you put your hands, all right? So, it gets kind of interesting. Juanita, I created history by opening 3 church bank accounts that are untouchable by the Rev scammers. I go back to James Allen. A man only begins to be a man when he ceases to whine and revile. These public servants are good people. They really are. What are we going to do without a strong government, ladies and gentlemen? We're going to have gangs running rampant, home invasions on a night. It's survival of the fittest. And whoever gets the most gangs together. And are you guys crazy? Why would you fight the government? What are you armed with? Pop guns? They got aircraft carriers, nuclear weapons, and armies. Weapons we've never heard of. Why would you fight them? They're your guerrilla. Are you afraid of your own junkyard dog? No. They're your own junkyard dog. You're afraid of him because you don't know him, and he doesn't know you. He knows you as an enemy of the state. You better be afraid of him. You got nothing coming. So don't be an enemy of the state. These are real simple concepts. If you can get into your mind, you're going to get remedy. I don't have to worry about a lot of certain things to say. All I know is I got 4 doors to go through. All I know is I don't worry about what they say. I don't get caught up in what they say. I'm trying to bring my claim up. It's a little bit hard to understand at the moment, but if you give some of this some thought, you'll find that it gets easier and easier, because all of a sudden you go, God, he said it. What wasn't I thinking? What's wrong with repeating it? We've now settled for several of these guys. Their new mantra is there not a show cause order before the court to discharge the case and discharge the defendant from any further public liability and or duty in the matter? Well, we're going to do this. We're going to push the hearing out. Is there not a show cause order before the... That's your mantra, boys. There's nothing else to say. You need some repetition with the judge. He needs to know that you need this. Before this last court case started, they had some other guys in front of us, and some prisoners, and we had one pro se attorney, jailhouse attorney, doing it for a bunch of the guys there. And this kid was trying to do his best, like an attorney style. And the judge goes, "I'm just a facilitator here." Woo! "I'm nothing but a facilitator," he said. To facilitate what? The agreement between the parties, or the dishonor thereof. That's all he's there for. It's hard to imagine that. But if you can get it in your head, what do we do with that? If you can get it in your head, he is merely here to watch you two play with the ball. Here's the indictment. Conditionally accepted, and I send it back. Judge is just going to watch the ball go. What are you going to do with it now that she sent it back? You hit it back over. Now I'm going to see what she does with it. And until these pleadings come to an issue. Not what they say, but what they do. And what do they do? In John Stewart's case, the prosecution has agreed with everything he said. They tacitly acquiesced to each one of his notice, private, international remedy demand, first notice, notice of fault, opportunity cure, and notice of default and dishonor. And now the show cause order. They just agree to everything he ships in. And the clerk won't give him a hearing date to put on the show cause order. Of course, he's not an attorney. It's okay. So we're going to have to be patient until they come back. And he's going to have to go in and see if he can stand on it. Remember, what is the only reason we got a judge to talk to us about? Why is there a judge in this matter with Mr. Stewart and that at this point?
Because it couldn't be resolved in the private.
Yeah, but now that it is resolved in the private, right?
Needs to
And
be
that's why we're
ratified.
there. We couldn't resolve it before. But now that we've done the private side parallel while this public's going on,
Needs to be ratified.
it's resolved. And all it needs is ratification, or what? What's a ratification? Confirmation. To confirm. Or affirm it. That's all it is. We just need public ratification. And the judge is going to test him on it. See whether John understands what the public's about. Why there's public trustees. Why you got to be before a judge? Because you have been dishonorable.
Where do court costs come in on all of this when you're in there in a situation like
Got
that?
me? I don't know. Don't care.
Hold on. Like this guy John, is he having to pay court costs, or if the agreement is in your favor? I don't know.
No.
No issue.
We're not asking for any money to recompense or anything. He could have put that in, I suppose, but you start getting into areas you don't want to be. Unless you got an agreement. Did they agree to do this? I'm just trying to settle it with minimal amount of damage. Much like this thing that we did with Juanita on that neat thing about saying, where's yours?
Oh.
Let me finish. When we countered with one of these offers from a credit card company, we said, further attempts to collect on an account already agreed as set off, settled, and closed leads me to believe you may be committing fraud and shall incur a penalty and or liability of $100,000. I just made an offer. You want to keep doing this, it's 100 G's. Now, I kept it a little softer. I didn't want to say to this person, that person, and the CFO and the president of Chase and all that and give them a notice. I'm trying something a little bit different with hers. That it'll get settled, that's a fact. Will they ding her credit report? It'll get taken off, too. It's really getting cool out there that when you understand commercial law and you actually truly understand it, you're going to get into harmony and the governments will honor you. That's what they're there for. To protect the people, not the slaves, not the enemies.
Initially, you mentioned sending it to the CFO for certain specific reasons, but if you do a notice to agent, notice to principal.
Well, I go along with Brandon's comment and send it to the CFO. Jack supports that. As far as I'm concerned, that's fine. Me, I'm just a straight contract guy. I'll make an IOU stick with the employee I sent it to.
Yeah.
All this is also being sent to CC to the CFO as well.
Okay.
Oh, you respond back, keep everybody. Let me answer any questions got to do with anything. Because some of you have questions, and don't be shy about asking them, because it doesn't. There's no stupid questions.
But are you writing this letter now in Juanita's case because she's already made the submission? They're coming back at her.
She made the submission, and now someone else in the company, like the collection department, is coming back at her and saying, well, you're a month behind and we haven't been paid. They're acting like they never even got this thing over here.
Then I got a phone call as well.
And she got a phone call as well.
But she doesn't have to respond to the collection company, does she? Because she's not contracted.
She hasn't. It's not the collection company. When I say someone else, it's someone else in Chase Bank.
It's the
Oh, I
Data
see.
Integrity Hearing Board. It's their people.
What it is it's not. You're
No?
going to confuse her. You're
Right.
right with that. But what it is she sent the conditional acceptance over here to the CFO.
Yes.
Another department in Chase
Got it.
Bank called
Got it.
Credit and Collections or
Yeah.
something sent her a bill.
Right.
What Juanita's saying, and she's correct on, is they're acting as the Data Integrity Hearing Board, collecting information.
Right.
And then over here, she gets a call from someone else, and she got another one from another state, from Chase Bank over here, different altogether. I said, don't worry. Here's your first one. You got a phone call, and that's the first. And out this one out here from another state is a second witness.
But none of those responses could have been anticipated and therefore stopped by something she did at the very beginning.
She can't stop them.
She couldn't.
You
So
you
they
should
would come-
expect those.
They should come automatically.
It would be
Thank you.
weird for them not to come, because
Got it.
the CFO, there needs to be some witnesses
understand.
out of the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses. So in all of these things, you can expect trial. Someone to test you.
Yes.
Some more witnesses. Somebody coming in needing more information. So when we send it to this one over at this department and this one over at this department, we CC'd everybody in every department that these people got this and they got that. That way there's a double and a triple record. And if they were to now take her to court to try and collect that in a regular court and get a public judgment, they can't do it
Got it.
because she has a claim. It's been agreed. So if she were to receive a summons now, and some of my students have, American Express with a guy down in Orange County, sued him personally for $15,000. If he'd have done his administrative remedy, he could have answered the summons by saying, I conditionally accept your offer, because it's an offer from the court, upon condition that any determination or ruling shall be in accordance with the record attached hereto, which is accepted, that has set off, settled, and closed the matter. The court would get back their summons that they sent out, along with all this paperwork, and of course the bank's, American Express's attorneys would have got a copy of it, right? And the judge is going to see, and this judge is going to take a look at what's Amex going to do with that counteroffer from the purported or alleged debtor, because it's got nothing about money. This isn't money; it's paper with ink on it. Yes, it's money in that sense and not money in another sense. But it is money. What's money? Just paper with ink on it. So it all comes down back to, that's the practical side, the paperwork side, and then we had that other side we said, the merit side. Remember? Merits, quality deserving reward. Deserve means have by conduct they claim to. So merits really has to do with the claim. We're right back to that word claim again. Themis, I can't see nothing except I can feel the claims. Better have one or you're wasting your time. Unless you're up against another debtor. But public policy would dictate we're not letting these debtors write it off with some ink and paper, man. That screws with the money system. For the public, because everybody will think they can get away with it.
Well, thank you, because now I understand that letter better.
Okay, yes. Do you have some questions? They don't even have to do with this. Other questions you might have, and they're not. Don't worry about what they are. They're not silly and they're not stupid. They're real to you.
Can you comment on trivial, not trivial, what's it called? Something, filing?
Frivolous filings? Let's talk about 1099 OID letters. You put in an OID, you got the money back, or you put in your OID and they send a frivolous letter. Yours is a frivolous filing. That's an offer. The CIC site has some nice response to the frivolous filing letters that we put together. Actually, Brandon put together. So who needs to make a new letter or response to it? You know what to do. Some real standard letters. if you have credit card problems, I put this one together for Juanita last night. I said, God, I kind of like this one. I got to sit in front of a computer and ponder for a minute, and then it comes to me. And so I said, man, I like this. Let's see what they do with this one. We were nice with the first one. This one's a little tougher. If we have to do another one, it'll be really downright nasty and it'll be personal. But I don't think we will. I'm curious to see if we can do it softly and like gentlemen.
How do you handle the phone call?
Just answer and tell them that.
How would you handle a call? You get a call.
Yeah.
This is Chase Bank. We haven't received your payment for this month. They're always polite about it. You haven't. I sent it in. Would you like me to give you a copy of it? It was paid in full. What are they going to say?
And they noted
Just
it.
like with Juanita. What did they say? They said, don't send it to me. Let me give you the place to send it to and who. And they did. So she sent it all to them.
Send them copies of what I had sent.
Okay.
What is your... Yeah, because we referred to the telephone conversation letter.
Is it okay to say you're Juanita Chung on the phone?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Because it's only a phone call.
Just a
We're
phone
not
call.
court.
I'm not in this court over here with a check.
Representative for Juanita Chung. How can I help you?
Doesn't matter. See, there's a time and a place. It'll come to you. It's just not a big deal.
Yep.
They say, is this Juanita Chung? I said, I got called over to R&D, which is receiving and discharge at the prison one time. And so that's a lockdown prison where when I'm walking across the yard, I'm the only guy. All right, it's between moves. And so the R&D officer comes out and he's waiting, and I'm the only guy that's sent from the unit. He's waiting on me, and I get over and he meets me partway. He says, you Hall? I said, you may refer to me as Hall. What's refer means? It means to submit for consideration. I said, you can submit it for my consideration. What you got? Kind of like my buddy John Matthews did up in Safford. You, John Matthews, what's this regarding? Those are all confession and avoidance. I brought up something that obviates any legal effect he could have. Because R&D, we might have a IRS in there with an indictment and everything else. And I'd want to say, well, I'm here as Gordon Hall, intervener. Is there a problem? He goes, when I said, you may refer to me as Hall, I knew this guy. And he goes, ooh, Hall. Oh, no, he goes, refer. And I said, yes. I knew the guy, so we're just having a little fun. He says, well, I got 3 duffel bags of property for Hall. I said, in that case, I'm Hall. And that's what he had. One of my buddies left 3 duffel bags of property. You never do that in the Fed system. Ain't happening. It's unbelievable. Radios, headphones, sweats, food. You're not even allowed to borrow anybody's radio in the system. Let alone somebody leave it to you. It was great. I tell you, I got treated real special after a while, man. They weren't. And my buddy said, like, you better see to it he gets this. He'll eat your ass up. He sure got it. My buddy was shameless. He didn't know how to do this stuff, but he knew how to threaten them.
Yeah.
Can we get back to the frivolous filing?
The frivolous filing letter. They're going to send you.
Well, what constitutes frivolous filing in their eyes?
Couldn't tell you.
What is it? We don't know.
Well,
It could be
frivolous
anything.
meaning it's a meaningless filing. Frivolous.
All right.
Just what it sounds like. They just want to see whether you know what you're doing.
Oh, okay.
That's my opinion of it.
Okay. Thank you.
Because we counter and say this. So all they're doing is testing you. They'll send you a frivolous, we consider this a frivolous filing, and it's $5,000 penalty or whatever else.
Okay.
It's just an offer to see whether you know who you are. That's our opinion of it. We haven't had anybody that answers these or comes back in a proper way has had any adverse effects. And based on contract law, coupled with examples of it, we're not uncomfortable that it is what we think it is. Could that change? Yeah, I know I don't know much. That's what I know, but I believe that based on contract law, offer and acceptance, counter offers, and the rest of this, we got it in a lock. Now, I don't know why some people get OID money back and some don't, when yet people seem to file identical processes and forms. I can't tell you why, and it's not like just a few people get OID money. People everywhere getting it, all across the U.S. and stuff. So I don't understand why it does what it does and why some get frivolous letters and some don't. Just rather interesting.
Random.
Well, there's got to be something to it that triggers it. The IRS is not stupid.
Yeah, well, that's it.
Ruthlessly shrewd and sharp they are. They're very good at what they do. Are they letting these people have... I got clients that got over $900,000. Lots of them with 5, 7, 200, 300, up to over 900. You know.
Actual checks?
Yes, money put in the accounts, and they cashed the checks and spent it and did this and did that. Not maybe stuff. And I've seen people get money and then it get pulled out a day later
By
by the IRS. And then they're in there trying to fight to get it back. And I don't know why that goes. Some people don't get bothered. So a lot of people, as soon as it hits them, man, it's dispersed to the four winds. You know, they take it out of that account, move some there, move some there, move some there, and then cash some there, and move some over there, and it just moves all around until they get it, you know, wherever they want it. That's up to them, whatever they do with their money.
Question of yours, Dennis.
Have we answered sufficiently the frivolous letter?
Depository account?
Yeah, you can expect always. Some people get letters and some don't. If they get a frivolous letter,
How do you-
from our point of view, they're just testing.
How do you handle it?
How would you handle it here?
We have a standard conditional acceptance letter based on a frivolous filing. We conditionally accept your offer that our filing was frivolous upon proof of claim that IRS 3702 blah 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 state. There's this nice beautiful paragraph it's been put together for that. I don't use it much, so I can't quote it because I don't.
Can you get it to us?
Yeah, it's on the CIC site.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Do you know what the class, at least the repository account is?
Well, ecclesiastical is
Yeah.
church.
Yeah.
What church?
Well, just that it was in one of the emails, there was somebody in Kelowna who had gone.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
What's a church? You know, with a capital C or a small c. Church with a capital C is the body of Christian believers. Church with a small c is the building for Christian worship. It's all these little nuances. So when they say an ecclesiastical, what's religious? Religious really is just a system of beliefs. Doesn't mean Catholic. What's Catholic? Catholic means universal.
No, it's what but it's what.
Well, he's saying ecclesiastical.
Account you open at the bank.
Well,
That's what they called it.
well, that's what he calls it. I like to know what he really means by it. I saw the deal on it. Yeah, ecclesiastical account. What do you mean ecclesiastical? Was it in the name of a 501(c) church? Was it in the name of a non-statutory church, a statutory church? What kind of church you talking about? Are you considering yourself a church? You know, there's not enough information there to form an opinion.
No, I mean, the only thing they did is refer to the bank manager saying, "Oh, I've never opened up one of these before."
I-
And then the government had to come seek and get money out of it and said, "No, you can't touch it."
Yeah, I saw what he said. Yeah, right. I saw his other questions too and stuff. So I kind of like, you know, I meet a lot of people. I meet people say, "Oh, yeah, my friend, he got some people out of jail." I said, "Well, good. Give me their name. Let me talk to them." Because I don't believe he did. I don't believe there's paperwork to get anybody just sprung out that is doing a sentence. Because I believe they're going to have to be tested to practical side. Does that mean there might not be one or two here or there? That's possible. Absolutely. They shill the game all the time or mislead people. But all these people that tell me I got these people out and I did it. What? Show it to me, please. You know, Juanita can tell you she's there when Susie walked. Saw her in civilian clothes. You can call Susie. You can call her. You can look at the stuff. You can look at the reports. You can look at the court stuff. You can look at the prison records. That's all there. Like I tell Jack, Jack told me, he's my friend. He says, you know, what's his name? So he's gone. I said, yeah, I've heard those, Jack. I'd like to see it. Show me the name. He said, yeah, you got a point there. That's right. I hear lots of people. I opened the 3 ecclesiasticals. The federal government was turned away dead. Yeah, right. I'd like to know a whole lot more about it than just rhetoric, because if I evaluate the guy on this rhetoric, which is this is part of all these questions he has, these are silly questions. They don't have to do with the issue. They're inflammatory. Some are just bald-faced stupid, from my point of view. Some guy.
Sent it to me from
So these aren't your questions.
the
No.
registration when I
Yeah, this
sent
is
out the
confusing because I
invitation.
found some of it to be totally opposite to your.
The registration.
That's what I'm talking about. So here's a guy telling Juanita, you know, why do folks trust words in prostate cancer? Because sheep will follow anyone. And yeah, this guy's great. He doesn't even make sense with his stuff. He's semi-illiterate with his punctuation and spelling and breaking up of words. Because, you know, that's one word, not because. It's because, not because. Because sheeple will. You got me. But Juanita thought it'd be nice if I comment. You're going to get what we're kind of saying is you're going to get lots of information on the internet in different places. And I got a couple students that go, "Who do I believe? I don't know who to believe. Gordon says this, and Sam Kennedy says this, and this guy says this." I said, I agree, it's very difficult. I said, I'd be happy to give you the names of the people that are my clients, from San Francisco to people out of jail to murder charges to John Stewart. Call them up. Ask them what kind of job I've done. Ask them if they've seen it. John knows Susie. You can verify it everywhere. It's not hard to. I would ask Sam and the rest of these guys, where's your wins? This is my problem with some of my other guys. I said, all I know is, I just keep winning everything if the clients listen. I got one client that didn't, he got slammed. But anytime a client has, like every one of our cases that listen, do good, win, things go away. Everything from DMV investigations to BBB to this to that to federal indictments to on, you name it. It doesn't have any one double murder case. Now I'm doing a simple second-degree murder case. So it's not maybes. Names that can be verified, cases that can be checked, people who've been in prison. You can see my record. You can go on the FBOP site and see Gordon Hall and all the record and show you everything about it and this and that. And go and pull my credit report and you say, God, I ain't got no bad credit. It said 4.8 million. Either I wrote a 4.8 million check and somehow got out of supervised release on 2 cases, or I'm a liar. It's not hard to verify this stuff. Yes.
Back to frivolous filings and the conditional acceptance of their offer, which is the letter.
Yes.
And so to take that through process, you've rejected that offer and created a new offer.
Yes.
And how long does that play out in your experience with the frivolous filing?
I don't focus in that area at all. Okay. But if I was to focus on them, now that you just brought it up, looking at the frivolous filing letters, I see that they say they do that, but they don't. None of these frivolous filing letters counter and say, and upon proof of claim that I'm not entitled to an immediate refund pursuant to the record that was attached to it. So I think they're somewhat incomplete. I can't say they are or not. I haven't looked at them a lot, but I don't see them being somewhat provocative. In other words, a counteroffer has a legal effect of rejecting the offer and proposing a new offer to the offerer. What's the new offer besides this thing? How about, and that I'm not entitled to $567,000 based on the record no ID that was attached here too, and make them agree to it and then follow it through.
Right.
I don't know if any of them are doing that.
Yeah.
I can't say they're not either. Brandon's a really sharp guy, so I can't tell you what he has or hasn't done. He works in that area. Me, I'm working with criminal guys, investigation stuff, and these and students. I have my areas that I work. Not that I'm not against getting into OID stuff. It just hasn't been an area I needed to get into at all. Because just those people are just wanting these things. There's a standard thing, put it in. Some are good, some aren't. I don't know. I'd rather understand how to use diplomatic IDs and plates on your car so that it's your car and this and that, a lodial title on property. Before I did all that, I want to know how do you deal well with the game and its rules, so that if I go in and put in some OIDs or instruments that could get me indicted for false instruments or anything else, I wanted to know how to be able to successfully vitiate any attack on my person or anybody else. And that was most important to me, and that's what I spent my time perfecting and doing. How to get out of prison. Those are big things to me. How to win court cases. What the game, what the rules are. Once you got that, all you do is you just apply the same stuff. Nothing magical about it. That's what's really neat about it. Once you get this down, it's a little bit obscure initially, because you're going, an administrative remedy? Well, we need to show you a little administrative remedy here. I'll show you one. Well, you saw my sisters. That was the step one of an administrative remedy, that little paragraph. Or we could put one in that's a real neat looking one that says notice private international. Let me show you. That's the nice thing about these things. Is some of these deals are not. What did we do with that one that we were looking at?
Right here?
That's my sister.
Oh, your sisters?
Yeah, what did I do with it? We didn't put it back in there.
Here's one.
We got something for a car here.
One.
Yeah, I'm just looking for. Yeah, I'll get it from you.
You suggest anything, we'll put in private property.
Do you have
Yeah.
Kelly's deal?
Yep. Kelly's.
Let me see my sister's real quick. Yeah.
It's
Let
on
me
the back
see.
side,
Let me
too.
see the first one of Kelly's. Notice of fault opportunity. Notice of fault. Right. Okay. Here you have two first steps to a private to an administrative proceeding. One's pretty bland, and the other's always got a nice name up here and a thing, and notice the principals, notice the agent, a lot of formality to it. But they're both effective. It doesn't matter. There's nothing special about them. I like to have a little more format to it.
That's what I was my conclusion.
They're not a big deal. Yeah, we like a little more professional, but they're very effective. So this is the first step.
Yeah.
You give, what does the scriptures say? If you got a problem, go to your brother. So I go to my brother. Hey, you billed me $49. I didn't approve it. Give me the money back. This one, hey, you conned me out of $200,000. And you said this and you said that, and if you don't do it, it's going to be $600,000. That's a little different. I don't just want the money back. And then when he didn't answer, we sent the second notice, which is a notice of fault, opportunity to cure it. That's all it is, brothers, in case it was a mistake. And in case that was your fault was due to an oversight, mistake, or an inadvertence to avoid incurring penalty liability in the amount of $600,000 on this $200,000 as a result of said misconduct. Therefore, this is actually default and dishonor. This was notice of default. Oversight, inadvertence. Please remit said amount to avoid incurring penalty liability amount of $600,000. Failure to respond within 20 days will constitute blah blah blah, and may get a lien on you at the UCC Division Secretary of State's office. All agreements we want to do. And then the third step was the notice of default, not notice of fault, but default. Two entirely distinctly different words. And that was all of 1 page long. The other one was 1 page too, but it had some exhibit. The whole first step was here in case you forgot or lost it. Fix it, brother. The third one, just a page. Hey.
What was it entitled, the first letter?
First one was notice private international remedy demand. The second one was notice of fault, opportunity to cure. And the third one, just notice of default and dishonor. The IRS sends ones to you, and they might put first notice, second notice, and third notice on it. They don't label it notice of fault. This is like warning, Will Rogers, danger.
Now, do you send that through a notary, or is that?
Nah, I just send it with third-party certificate of service. All these people that are using notaries for what? I don't need a notary on this.
Right.
Nah, it's money and time and effort.
So third-party service, you mean like
You got
UPS or
you got a certificate of service?
Registered man.
No.
So when you say third-party
yeah.
notice, who do you refer to? What do you
I'm talking about a third-party certificate of service, not a third-party notice.
Okay.
I always have a third party sign a certificate of service saying, I, so-and-so, am over the age of 21 years and not a party to the win-in action. It's just a certificate of service. I am over 21 years of age and not a party to the win-in action. I hereby certify, declare, or otherwise affirm that I have witnessed to be served an original and or true and correct copy of acceptance for value, X amount of pages, true and correct copy of certificate of service. It's 2 pages with this mailing. It went to this guy and it was sent by certified mail and signed. That's all it is. It's a certification that somebody put what in the mail.
Third-party signed it.
Third party signed it. Because remember, you cannot testify in your own case. So you can't sign this certificate of service. Don't have your wife or your kids sign it. Have a third person, a third party. Essentially, an unaffiliated party, preferably. But it's not a big deal, just any name. I used to have roommates sign it, you know. And I just go take it down and mail it. You know, they didn't have to just sign this thing. I'll take care of it. They just sign it.
You mentioned an example being up on for the list, being up on the CIC site. Do you have these other examples that we can perhaps study in terms
Juanita has them,
Okay.
and we can get them to you, so you're entitled to them. She'll get you copies of all of this stuff. That's just a 1, 2, 3 step. We got this one for this. We got one for the criminal indictment with John. We got one for this. You know, it gets down. So if you have anything that's a problem, it really is. A lot of that area has been already trekked forward, and it's not really complicated stuff. It's
Do you send it registered mail as well, or?
I send certified mail, and I don't always ask for a return card because I can just go on and get USPS track and confirm, but not registered. It just need to show that it got there and went in the mail. That third-party certificate of service could actually say put it in the United States Postal Service Post Office First Class Prepaid and it's deemed delivered.
Right.
But I like to have the second witness, i.e. the post office, if I need to pull up the track and confirm verification when it got there. It never has come up. I doubt it ever will. It just assures things being handled very professionally and courteously. That's all.
And
If the government does everything right, what I wonder what is the purpose of registered mail? There must be some reason for it.
Absolutely.
Mail
It
gets
has
lost
its
every
place.
day.
It has
Wanna
its
make sure it
place.
makes that there.
It's on the private side as opposed to certified on the public side. Was this administrative remedy private? Well, a little different thing. When I'm sending bonds into the Secretary of the Treasury, I do it registered mail. When I'm doing certain stuff, I'll do registered. But really, I'm not uncomfortable using certified or regular mail. I know what my stuff is. It's not going to come up. That's not the issue. Let the judge say that he can't see it or something. It was interesting at this last thing with John. We were running late and had to get something filed in a big hurry. Were you with us on that one, Juanita?
I typed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We filed something early in the morning, and we didn't have time to. His court was like at 9 a.m. and the clerk's office didn't open until 8:30, and we had to type something up after we did something. So it was like 8:45 when we're trying to get everything filed. So we brought it up to the courtroom with us, and we gave one to the prosecution and one to the proposed public defender, and had a sheriff hand one to the judge or the judge's clerk. Somewhere in the middle of that thing, the judge goes, well, Mrs. Charbel, that's the prosecutor, have you received a copy of this, blah, blah, blah? And she goes, yes, I have. Mr. Johnson, have you? He goes, yes, I have. And the judge goes, I've got the originals here. I'm going to have to let it in. He had original bluing signature on the certificate of service that showed that the prosecution got it by hand delivery and delivering to their box. And 2, by the caption set that's originally signed in bluing, giving notice of delivery of those things to the notice is hereby given conditional acceptance to the court's order. And so we have a couple of original signatures. Always go to the court or the judge. Prosecution always gets copies. Everybody else gets copies. It's the court that gets the originals. The original certificate of service and the original caption set signature. I think we wanted to take a break. And when you come back, if you got questions, let's answer them. And if they're not answered thoroughly, speak up. Say, that didn't do it for me. Could you go back over that? Or that's not very clear. Or we got on to something else and we didn't finish that. I didn't understand. Could you come back? So don't be shy about asking your questions, whatever they may be, even if we've done it before.
Oh, it's okay. I'm just going to let it ride. I'm good that way. And then, that's right.
Jimmy, what were those three?
All right.
Notice of fault. Can you say what those 3 things were again? Notice of fault, notice of default, and what was the first one?
The first one I do in a general thing is a notice private international remedy demand. Second one's notice of fault, opportunity hearing. Third one's notice of fault, default and dishonor. And they don't have to even be entitled that. What you're doing there is simply giving due process, a 3-part process, giving a person plenty of opportunity to know what's going on. It's only fair. If you did somebody wrong and they sent you a notice and you didn't get it, wouldn't it be nice if they sent you a second notice that says, brother, in case it was a mistake, oversight, or you missed it, here's another copy of what I sent you. You backed into my car, you either fix it or I'm going to have it done and send you the bill.
So could it just be notice 1, 2, 3?
Could just, IRS doesn't even number them. They just send you a first, a second, and a third. There's not even an entitlement on it. I just entitle it because it's pretty blatant and clear. And I know what I'm saying with it. Although, like I've seen one of my other students, one of the Visa cards sent him a notice he owed X amount of money. A month later, they sent the identical notice, but it had a different date on it. That's a second notice. All it is giving your brother an opportunity to fix his mistake. They don't say this is your first and your second and your third generally. They just send you 1 or 2 or 3, and if there's a problem, they want to take you into a public court. They submit their record on the private side that you get this notice, and this notice. They just say it. No, they don't have a certificate of service with it or anything else. But then you start arguing they did not give it to me. They argue they did. It's 2 debtors, and the judge will do what's best in the name of public policy. Because that's what he's going to do. And that means he's going to side with the bank usually. Because that's the proper thing to do for public policy. We can't just let everybody deny they got anything. It's better serves the public if we do this and hammer the sheep. He's just doing his job. So that there can be order to all this chaos. We were talking here a little bit ago about law and understanding things. Ignorance of law is no excuse or excuses no one. Some of you have heard that saying before. When I was learning about it, how could ignorance of law excuse no one? Man, there's 60 million codes, rules, and laws, right? How can you possibly know it? That doesn't make sense, so everybody just ignores it. But if you replace the word law with contract, then it made a lot of sense to me that ignorance of contract is no excuse. You should be held accountable to every contract you enter. Would you not agree, or would you?
No.
Absolutely. If you tell me you're going to do something, I expect you to do it. And how would you tell me? You could tell me in a lot of ways. You want to borrow the car? Look, I got to go out at 4 o'clock. Just make sure it's back here by 3. Well, I didn't tell him I was going to do that. Did you take the keys? And did you leave his statement uncountered? Yeah? Well, then you made an agreement, didn't you? We were talking about getting people out of jail. A maxim I like is, as a thing is bound, so it is unbound. So when we're trying to analyze people's false documents and things they say, and I get different stuff all the time myself. I get John Stewart's a prime example. He sends me this stuff with all these inflammatory statements and comments. I said, what are you doing with this? He said, well, that part's true. I said, well, why did so much of it's pure inflammatory rhetoric? What are you doing? Well, I just thought, I said, why would I like it? Why do I want to waste it? Why do I want to clutter my mind with it? All I do is read long enough to see some guy's full of crap, and I go on to something else. I don't finish it. I don't need to finish it. What could he be saying when I consider the bulk of what he said? From my point of view, that doesn't mean everybody's stuff that comes in is that. How else do you think I learn? Some documents I just love studying, cooperative federalism, and other documents. James Allen, the stuff that I like or makes sense to me that goes in with my belief and understanding. It has to be simpler, or how could we be held accountable that ignorance of law is no excuse or excuses no one? So law's got to be simple. To me, it doesn't get any simpler than 4 doors. It's all contracts, offer and acceptance. God, that's nice. That makes sense to me. All these gurus that talk about these esoteric concepts and complicated things, it's very difficult for the lay person to understand. And you just stay perennially lost. How can you get remedy if you don't know what's going on? And it's got to be simple. That's what I keep coming back to. Or ignorance of law excuses no one is not a maxim that makes sense. And those maxims have been around entirely too long not to make good sense. And it made sense when I replaced the word with contract, because that we all agree with. So, therefore, and then all, in a 1906 set of law books I read, it said almost the whole procedure human life implies, or rather is, the continual fulfillment of contracts. And then all law emanates from, and I pondered those things, days and weeks and months, and some in case years, on and off. What else could it be? People aren't naturally slaves. The 13th Amendment, there'd be no involuntary servitude, right? Makes sense? So it's got to be voluntary. So when Robert Bork, Supreme Court Justice nominee, says everybody in prison volunteered to go, and then an interesting thing is, coming back to contract, there was a young chaplain by the name of Richards at Terminal Island, which is a prison I was at, about probably a 38-year-old guy. Wife, 2 kids, part of the Army Reserves. He gets called up. My buddy counsels him. He says, quit signing everything. You guys just sign everything without reading it. Don't we all do that? Mortgage paperwork, we just sign it. Insurance forms, we just sign. We don't read it. It's kind of cool. I got this little car. I go into the dealership, and you're paying for it. They have you sign it. And on it says, the price may change and you're approving it can change without your permission. I said, why would I sign that? She said, well, we just have everybody sign it. I said, well, that's really nice, but I'm not everybody. So what am I signing? You agreed to change the oil for $32. You're going to change it for $32, aren't you? That's what I agreed to. It just gets really strange. People are just used to signing whatever they put in front of you. So, that's what happens. Those are adhesion contracts, take it or leave it, and these long things. But we tell this chaplain, read your stuff. He ends up leaving. Now, when you're working in a nice fed prison, you got good pay. When you go into the Army, active Army, you get a cut in pay, and you're being sent to Iraq and all that stuff. He gets to the staging area somewhere in Missouri or Mississippi or something, and they got a bunch of the guys in the room, and they're having all fill out paperwork and sign everything. And on it says, you're volunteering to go. And he says, I'm not signing that. So he crosses it out and initials it. He's going to go. He's not arguing. He's a good, patriotic guy. He thinks he's supposed to go. He's in the reserves. He's not fine to go. But he's sure the hell ain't going to say he's volunteering when he's in. He's saying he has to go. They came and they had a little discussion with him at the table. He says, I'm not signing it. I'm not volunteering. I'll go. I don't have a problem. I'll initial that and sign. He said, you're out of here. He called back to the prison saying, tell Blankenship, that's my buddy, that stuff really works. Contract law really works. What a revelation. But it was to him. When he got back, I asked him, and he told me the story. What he didn't realize is he did volunteer to go, didn't he? When did he volunteer to go?
When he signed up.
Huh?
Signed up.
When he signed up for the reserves, which said, we may do this to you, that to you. Nobody made him go sign up in the reserves, so he technically did volunteer to go. But he couldn't get off stuck. I'm not volunteering, I'll go, but I'm not going to do. And they didn't want this argument there, and they could see that he wasn't doing it to be recalcitrant or difficult. He just believed that nobody's going to tell him you volunteered, that we could do anything we want to you. Send you off to war, inject you full of syphilis if we want to see what it does to you, like they did in World War II with a class of guys. Anything else? Being part of the democracy is not a good thing. Once you understand what a democracy is, and that you volunteered into that, and what it means, that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. So when they knocked the Trade Center down, that was good business. all that work jobs got hired, took some of that office space out, got rid of a bunch of records.
That's fine.
Scared the hell out of the public.
But it serves so many uses. Does anybody ever wonder that after the 2001 911, the credit got so easy it was pathetic? Gives some credence to the fact every 70 or 77 years they destroy the records, right? The nation comes out of debt. You think this government told the banks, hey, no more income qualifying, no tax returns, nothing? What do you think was going to happen? Like, you didn't think homes were going to go up 3, 4, 5-fold? I go to prison in 99 with homes normal price. I come out and junkers are worth $500,000. Well, what is this? What kind of society is this? You know, entrees at restaurants are $5. Gas was $1. I come out, it's $4.50 a gallon. I said, this is unbelievable. Whoa, this is sticker shock. But when you think about what that accomplished, it was a good thing. Sounds like a bad thing to have 3,000 people die, but we're going to serve the community's needs. It's just 3,000 people. Pretty ugly sounding, isn't it? Bitches belong to democracy, I'm going to tell you. But they had a right to do what they want with their property. Because they were able to supply how many jobs to protect all of you that go through airports with all these nuts that are putting gas in their shoes and other crazy stuff. Want a moment of glory and all these other things. They're crazy out there. Are they not? As a general rule, the mass is truly crazy. They're not conscious. They don't know who they are. They don't even know where they live, do they? So don't tell me they're not crazy. They're crazy. They don't know who they are. They don't know who they aren't. They don't know where they live. They don't even know that the United States is not even a country. That it's a federal corporation. And that they're selling their birthright for a pot of porridge.